Hello, my name is Matt Fong with the Hastings College Alumni Office with the Life After HC video series. Today I'm joined with Jeremy Anderson, 2004 Hastings College graduate. He is the regional bank president here at Heartland Bank. And so today we're going to talk a little bit about budgeting. So I just wanted you to give us a little overview on what's important for first year students and young graduates to know as they leave their time at Hastings College to know in setting up a budget after they get their first job.
Sure, Matt. It's really important when you're setting up a budget, first to track spending, and there are a lot of tools out there that can help with that. We really, believe it or not, we really recommend like an aggregator, like mint.com or some of those really friendly apps like that. But you track your spending personally and try to build a plan for what you're going to spend, what kind of income you have, and then really try to build a budget that you can live within. And that it is very, very important. Believe it or not, as we've dealt with a lot of new graduates and new hires, I've been really impressed with the amount of budgeting that they bring as a relatively new professional. And it's kind of enlightening as we have some older and more experienced hires that aren't as good with their budgeting, personal spending. So it's been kind of a good way for them to, we actually have offered some training to some of them from our newer, our millennial folks that have those skills and tools. The mint.com and some of those other online resources are just super.
What do you say, is there a good kind of rule of thumb as it relates to the amount of saving that one should do, especially as they kind of start their first jobs?
Certainly, and it's kind of an old rule of thumb that 6 months of your annual salary you should always have set aside. I know you always want to start saving for that summer vacation or trip or something that's coming up. That is in addition to, always try to have that rainy day fund for what happens if I lose my job, what happens if I get injured, what happens if. And so we always say have 6 months of your annual salary saved away, in addition to those fun things that you want to do in life. So it's hard to do, especially right out of college and with inevitably some student debt, as we all have and have had. But it's a great rule of thumb to have for those things that do happen.
Good. What would you say as individuals move into new communities? What are the advantages of keeping a checking account or a savings account that maybe you've had since you were in high school or something like that? Or do you move your bank accounts to a new bank when you move to a new community?
Well, there's certainly an advantage, it seems like, to banking locally, and obviously a little biased being a community bank president, but I think there's an advantage to working with a local bank, a local community bank that you can come in and have conversations with. That's something we talk about a lot, but there is still a lot of research that says that there's a reason for brick and mortar and there's a reason folks still come into a bank. Yes, you can open an account online, you can do a lot of transactional business online with your phone, through a drive-through still even, but you need to come in and have those conversations from time to time for the important things in life. When you buy your first home, buying that first car maybe after graduation, whatever it may be, those bigger, more pivotal times in life, you're probably going to want to talk to someone in person. And it's easier to do with a local bank. And so whether it's a bank you had from home that maybe has those conveniences and you can still work with them, or it's a local bank where you relocate to, I think it's great to have that relationship. We talk a lot about that in our industry, but it's great to have a relationship with a banker. So if something happens and you either need a little help in those tough times, or you just need that next step because, hey, I want to buy that house, the first home, or an investment property, or whatever it may be, I know who I can call, and I've got that relationship with my friendly banker.
Sure. So is it your recommendation and your bank's recommendation that when you need a loan for either a car or a home or something like that, that you would go to the bank that you have your accounts with, your either checking account or savings account with first?
Yes, definitely. You have that relationship established. So, you've already got some rapport with them and they know who you are. And I think that just makes that start of that process so much easier.
Sure. So talk to us a little bit about credit. And I think all of us are probably inundated with credit card applications, either weekly or daily in mail or email. What do you advise as it relates to having credit cards and what that should look like?
Well, maybe my advice will be different than some, but mine is very simple. You really only need one credit card. And I'm a user of a debit card very frequently. Many of us don't carry much cash, if any at all, anymore. But if you have one credit card, that'll really get you through life. And so you need to build some credit, especially if you're just graduating. And so you apply for a card that fits you. And there are so many cards out there now. I recommend if you go to either, I'm not advocating for any certain site, but there are so many sites out there that'll help you find one that fits you. NerdWallet is a fun site that kind of picks cards based on lifestyle. If you want rewards or if you want miles or whatever those kinds of things might be, it helps you find cards that are out there. And you're just shopping then. It aggregates all these different choices and then you can select one based on all those options. So you find a card that works for you, apply for the card, get a card. You don't need, what I always tell my customers is you don't need a store card for every store that there is in the mall. Because what happens inevitably is you maybe forget to pay that $30 bill that you charged last month or whatever, and that can impact your credit negatively. So get a card, have a balance, charge something on it, pay it off right away. Charge, pay it off right away. That'll build your credit. And just let that happen and let yourself build a positive credit score. And that's the best advice I can give on not only having just a card that'll work for you, so you have a credit card that'll work, but also to build some positive credit.
Good. NerdWallet. I'll have to remember NerdWallet.
Yep.
There are so many great, benefits to that credit cards offer. And the rewards points and the bonuses and those type of things. It's kind of easy to get carried away with all of that. They certainly make it very enticing. So I'm trying to think, is there anything else that you would recommend for young people as they're starting out in their kind of work lives and from a financial perspective, that any other advice that you would offer?
I think, as I said, just keep it simple. And when you're out there and you do have some student debt, most of the time, when you're starting out professionally, and the best advice I can have is don't rush out there to build too much credit too quickly. Borrowing for that first car or first home, and then credit cards and other things. It can be overwhelming. Find a good local community banker and talk to them, use them as a good sounding board, and get good advice, and don't build too much credit too quickly, because you have to pay it all back someday.
That's very true. The last question I was going to ask you was about credit scores. You hear so much information out there regarding credit scores. What's reasonable to expect for kind of a young person? Maybe thinking that they're 21 to 24 years old. What should an average credit score be?
When you first start out and you probably have no credit established, when your credit is first pulled, you may see a score, and I've seen them range in that mid 600s with no credit established. And as you get a card or get a first car loan, maybe with a cosigner to begin with or something like that, and you make regular payments on time, your score will elevate and improve from there. The range is from 450 to 850, so that gives you an idea of good being 850 and poor being 450, the poorest. So your goal is to see that score always elevate, because honestly so many things are driven by that credit score anymore. You want to have an established credit, certainly, and have a good score. I always tell folks that it's interesting, but you can't apply for cable or a cell phone upgrade or dish service or anything like that anymore without having a good credit score, because they're going to pull your credit. And if you haven't paid your bills and you haven't kept your credit score up, it's going to impact your ability to get those simple things in life anymore. So.
Very good. Well, Jeremy, thank you so much for your time today and your expertise. We certainly really appreciate it. So thank you.
Thank you.